Hey everyone, I'm Erica, and this is a shoulder sequence to help open your shoulders. Create some space, find some space also in your upper back, your thoracic spine, so that's a place where we all tend to lean forward a little bit. This might be a familiar position, whether you're on the computer, texting, driving, riding your bike, chopping vegetables for dinner. Pretty much everything we do in front of us, and there ends up being a lot of compression in your spine. So let's take care of that. Come to your mat, start in hands and knees. So your wrists right below your shoulders, knees right below your hips. Spread your fingers wide. Really spread your fingers, get as much space in there as you can. And then you're going to lift your low ribs. They're going to want to drop down towards the floor. You're going to resist that though. Lift your low ribs. Walk your hands forward about 2 feet. Keep your hands at shoulder distance. Lift your low ribs again. Keep lifting them away from the floor as you press your hips back and send your spine, your shoulders down. Lift your low ribs. You can either look towards your hands or bring your head to the floor. Really push your hands into your mat and press your hips back. Imagine someone has their hands on your hips and is gently pulling back to help with the stretch. Don't forget about your lower ribs. Keep lifting them up. Take another 2 breaths. Keep lifting your low ribs. Don't let them collapse. That'll also help with strengthening that area of your core. And then inhale, come about halfway up. Bring your arms down, elbows on your mat, and elbows together touching. So this is elbows touching, this is elbows not touching. So bring them right together so that they touch. Not touching, touching. So elbows touching. Tuck your toes for this one. Lift your low ribs again. So it's almost like you're doing cat pose. That's the action you want in your spine. Lift your low ribs. Lift your hands up a little bit. You can hook your thumbs or keep your thumbs straight, and then press your hips back, lift your low ribs, press your elbows, dig your elbows down into your mat so you can really pull back, lift your low ribs, and again either rest your head in your elbow creases or look towards your thumbs, lift your low ribs, press your hips back, feel that lengthening in your upper arm, your tricep area, lift your low ribs, press your hips back and down, take 2 breaths. And then inhale, release that, come halfway up. Bring your knees together, your big toes together, tops of your feet on the floor. Sit back on your heels in Vajrasana. And then interlace your fingers behind you. Keep your elbows bent at first so that you can take your shoulders back towards the back of the room. Reach your arms straight, lift your chest up. See if you can touch your feet with your toes. And then tuck your chin, bring the top of your head to the floor in front of your knees. Lift your hips up, lift your arms up, reach your arms straighter, lift your shoulders up away from the floor, and then take your hands towards the front of the room. Take a breath. See if you can reach your arms straighter, lift your shoulders up. Imagine someone has hold of your wrists and is gently pulling them up towards the sky, and then take your hands away from your spine towards the front of your mat. Keep your head and neck exactly where they are in center. Don't turn them at all. Drop your right shoulder down towards your mat, and then take your left arm further away from your body. Really focus on your left arm. Keep your hips, your head, your neck in center. Drop your right shoulder a little more. Take your hands towards the front of the room. Take a breath. Come back to center. Same thing. Keep your neck and head right where they are. Drop your left shoulder down. Reach your right arm forward. Keep your hips lifting up and your arms reaching towards the front of the room. See if maybe you can twist a little more. Bring your left shoulder down more without moving your neck. Take your right arm away from you. And 1 more breath. And then come back to center 1 last time. Make as much space between your hips and your hands as you can. Lift your shoulders up. Take your hands forward. And then lower your hips first, then your hands and arms. Come up to sit. Bring your hands, palms facing up on your thighs. Let the blood and energy come back into your arms. Take one more breath. Feel your shoulders moving up and down. And then come down onto your belly. I'm going to face you for this one. Come down onto your belly. Start with your elbows under your shoulders in Sphinx pose. Spread your fingers wide, wrists in line with your elbows. So make sure your elbows are not here. They're not way back here. They're right under your elbows. Push your forearms down, draw them back towards your hips, and then really take your tailbone down towards the floor. Lift your low ribs. Take your shoulders back. Push the floor away with your elbows. Lengthen the back of your neck. My toes are tucked because I'm running out of room, but you can have the tops of your feet flat and then push the tops of your feet into the floor to engage your legs and keep your low back nice and spacious. And then take your left arm underneath your right, palm facing down, walk your hand out as far to the right as you can. Take your right arm out to the left, palm facing down, walk your hand out. Make sure you're centered in the middle, you're not twisted to one side. And then tuck your chin, rest your chin on your upper arm, relax. Push your thumbs into the ground and then lengthen your thumbs and the whole thumb side of your arm, especially your forearm, away from your shoulders. You can stay here, or if you have a little bit of space, tuck your toes, inch yourself forward, push your thumbs down, reach your thumbs away from you. Take one more breath here. See if you can relax and soften a little bit more, especially into your upper arms. And then if you did inch forward, tuck your toes, inch back. Bring your arms back to their own sides, and we'll go to the other side. So right arm comes under left, walks out to the right. No, out to the left. Left arm comes across to the right and walks out. Push your thumbs down, tuck your chin, rest your chin. Tuck your tailbone, really reach your tailbone towards your mat. Push your thumbs down, reach them away from you. And again, you can stay here or tuck your toes, inch yourself forward, and then rest your head again. And just let everything be heavy, including your tailbone. Take it down towards the floor. Lift, keep your torso where it is, but lift your navel away from your mat. That helps to lengthen your low back. And then tuck your toes under. If you inch forward, inch back. Bring your arms to their own sides. And then we're going to do the opposite of that movement. Come down all the way onto your belly. Bring your right arm out alongside your body, wrist in line with your shoulder, so not above your shoulder, not below your shoulder, but nicely in line, palm facing down. And then you're going to push your hand down as if you're going to lift your elbow up, but without actually lifting your elbow. So that's going to keep all the muscles engaged and keep your elbow joint safe and happy. Bring your left hand to fingertips and then start to roll over towards your straight arm. Keep pushing your hand down as if to lift your elbow. And you might be able to get as far enough to bring your feet flat to the floor, or you might be somewhere here with your legs straight. Eventually, as your shoulder opens up, you can bring your feet flat, your pelvis comes flat, maybe even that left arm reaches back and finds the other hand. And then keep your neck in line with the rest of your spine. Don't let it be heavy. Keep your chin slightly tucked and rooting back, Jalandhara Bandha, to keep your neck supported. And either keep your right hand on the ground or reaching back. And then come back and very slowly keep pushing that hand, the right hand, into the floor as you very slowly come out of this one. There are lots of nerves that come down through the shoulders, through the elbows, so you want to move really slowly for that. And we'll go to the other side. So bring your left arm out, fingers spread wide, palm down. Again, push down. And notice how when you push down with your hand, it's really easy to lift your elbow up. And again, that keeps the muscles engaged to keep the elbows safe as you roll over. So keep pushing that hand down, tuck your chin right into the back of your skull. Maybe come to your feet or keep your legs out long. Take 3 breaths here. And then very slowly come back to center. And bring your hands under your shoulders, come back to hands and knees, and we're going to do those 3 little sequences again. So start on hands and knees. Walk your hands 2 feet forward, lift your ribs, work towards cat pose here, and keep your cat pose spine even as you lower your hips, lower your whole torso. Keep lifting your ribs to really get into that thoracic spine. It's really tempting to just drop and get closer to your mat, but you're not going to. You're just going to continue with giving the muscles the wrong information. So really lift your spine, lift your low ribs, make a cat pose with your spine, and equally as you're lifting your low ribs, press your shoulders, your armpits towards your mat. Push your hands down so you can pull back through your hips. And then inhale halfway up. Bring your forearms down, elbows touching. Remembering that this is elbows touching, this is elbows not touching. Elbows and forearms touching, hands together, tuck your toes, lift your low ribs, cat pose, and then sink down, lift your hands up a little bit. Either look towards your thumbs or rest your head. Keep lifting your ribs. 2 more breaths. And then inhale back up. Bring your knees together, tops of your feet to the floor. Sit back in Vajrasana. Interlace your fingers behind you. Elbows bent, hands on your sacrum so you can take your elbows, your shoulders back. And then lengthen your arms down. Reach your sternum up. Keep all that length in your arms. Keep your hands reaching away from your shoulders. Tuck your chin. Bring the top of your head to the floor. Lift your hips. Lift your shoulders up away from your mat, and then your hands towards the front of the room. My hair is slipping on my mat. It would be helpful probably to have an elastic in my hair. Lift your shoulders up more, and then just see if you can round your spine again. Angry cat spine. Take your hands forward. Keep your head and your neck exactly where they are. Drop your right shoulder down. Lift your left shoulder away from your mat more, and then take both arms towards the front of the mat. See if you can make more space between your hands and your hips. Come back to center. Keep your neck and your head right where they are. Drop your left shoulder down. Take your right shoulder up towards the ceiling, and then your hands forward. Notice what's happening with your spine, with your core. See if you can lift your low ribs. Take your hands towards the front of your mat. Lift your right shoulder more. And then come back to center one last time. Press your hands and your hips away from each other to lift your shoulders up. And lower your hips. Lower your hands. Come back up to sits. Palms face up. Take a breath. And feel all that warmth rushing back into your arms, flowing back into your arms. Take one more breath. And then come back down onto your mat. Maybe I'll do it this time. Wait, this time. Come into Sphinx pose. So push the tops of your feet into the floor. You might even lift your knees up. You're pushing your feet down so much. Take your tailbone down, lift your navel, lift your low ribs. Push your elbows down, take your shoulders back, lengthen the back of your neck. And then push your forearms down and draw them back to take your sternum forward. But don't lose that movement up of your low ribs. And then release that. Take your right arm underneath your left, palm facing down. Take your left arm up to the right, palm facing down. See if you can walk your hands further from each other. Keep your tailbone tucked. Tuck your chin. Rest your head. Push your thumbs down. Lengthen your thumbs away from your elbows. Stay here or tuck your toes. Inch yourself forward. Keep pushing your thumbs down, reaching them away from you. Lift your navel. Take your tailbone down. Push your feet down. And really feel the breath moving into your upper back. And then tuck your toes, inch back. Bring your arms onto their own side. Just a momentarily coming back into Sphinx pose. Push your elbows down, lift your lower ribs, take your sternum forward, lengthen the back of your neck. And then bring your left arm under the right, walk it out to the right. Right arm, walk it out to the left, palms facing down. Tuck your chin, drop your head, tuck your tailbone, push your thumbs down, lengthen your thumbs away from your elbows. With your next exhale, just let everything release. Keep those engagements of your tailbone down, navel lifting, thumbs down, but then release everything else into your mat. Stay here or tuck your toes, inch forward. Keep reaching out through your thumbs. Don't let your thumbs roll away from the floor, but push them down. Reach them long. One more breath. And then if you need to, tuck your toes, inch back, bring your arms out to their own sides. And then come all the way down onto your belly. Bring your right arm out to the side, wrist in line with your shoulder. Bring your left hand to fingertips, start to roll over, pushing your right hand down towards that straight arm. Either the legs stay long or feet come flat. Tuck your chin, root into the back of your skull, neck nice and strong. And either your left hand stays on the floor for support, or it might start to hang. At the beginning, it might hang around here. Eventually, you can find your fingers. Take 2 more breaths. And then bring your left hand back. If you've moved it away, keep pushing your right hand into the floor and very slowly come back to center. Left hand comes out to the left. Right hand comes to fingertips. Push your left hand into the floor to get that little tiny bit of a lift in your elbow. Roll over towards your straight arm. Tuck your chin, root into the back of your skull, neck strong in line with the rest of your spine. And your right hand wherever it comes to. Take 3 breaths. And then bring your right hand back if you'd lifted it up. Staying on fingertips very slowly. Push your left hand into the floor, that straight arm hand, and slowly come back to center. Hands come under your shoulders, press back to hands and knees, and we're going to do 1 more round. So round your spine, come into angry cat spine with that lifting. Walk your hands forward, lift again. Keep lifting, keep focusing on the lift here. Don't worry about how far back your hips go, how far down your shoulders come. Keep focusing on that rounding and keeping the rounding in your spine. With that rounding in your spine, with all that lifting up, push your hands down, press your hips back, and breathe. See if you can breathe into these side ribs where everything's lifting up and separating. 1 more breath. Lift, 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 round your spine. And then inhale halfway up, elbows together. Remember, 1 more time, demonstrating, elbows together. I seem to always have to show it at least 3 times with students. Not here, but here. And if you can, bring your elbows together, your forearms together. Just walk your arms closer and closer until you can. And then you're going to actually get this stretch. So bring your hands together, tuck your toes, lift, come into that angry cat pose, sink your hips back, hands lift a little bit, look towards your thumbs, or rest your head, keep lifting. Keep lifting, lifting, lifting through your spine, through your low ribs. Dig your elbows into your mat so you can really pull back away from your elbows. 1 more breath. And then come back up, bring your knees together, big toes together, tops of your feet to the floor. Vajrasana. Interlace your fingers behind you, bend your elbows, push your thumbs into your sacrum, take your shoulders back, straighten your arms, reach your fingers down, lift your sternum up, take your tailbone forward and your navel back to keep your low back long, and then tuck your chin around forward, bring your head to the floor, lift your hips up, reach your elbows, press your elbows up, or not your elbows, your shoulders up away from your mat, and then your hands towards the front of the room, and then do that again. Shoulders up, arms forward, maybe even one more time. Shoulders up, arms forward. You can either have space between your palms or have your palms touching. Take one more breath. And then keep your neck and your head exactly where they are. Don't let them move as you drop your right shoulder down. Lift your left shoulder up, take both arms, both hands forward. And create as much space between your hands and your hips as you can. Lift your shoulders up, take your arms forward. And one more breath. Come back to center, keep your head and neck where they are, drop your left shoulder down, take your shoulders up, your arms forward. Hopefully working into that right arm, that right shoulder. Two more breaths. And then come back to center. Create as much space between your hands and your hips as you can. Lift your shoulders up. Take your arms forward. One more breath. Lower your hips. Lower your hands. Come up to sitting. Release your hands. Palms facing up. Take a couple of breaths. And then come down onto your belly. Come into Sphinx pose. So push your feet down, even lift your knees up. Take your tailbone down, lift your navel. Push your elbows down, draw your forearms